3 mistakes that a lot of junior developers make and how you can avoid them. So if you're new around here, my name is Ryan Siddiqui. I work at Microsoft, and in this video I'll be going over some of the common mistakes developers make and how you can avoid them. So the first mistake a lot of developers make is being stuck at picking a programming language. So a lot of developers, they get stuck. They're not sure what programming language they should learn, whether to go with C#, C, C++, JavaScript, Python, etc. So they waste a lot of time just looking at different programming languages, what programming language they should learn. Because at this stage, you need to realize that you don't even know if you're going to like programming. So my recommendation, this is how I learned programming. Just start with Python if you've never programmed before. If you've never programmed before, start with Python. If you know how to program before and you want to get some experience building projects, learn JavaScript or C++. Like, don't make it that complicated, because eventually as a software engineer, you reach a stage in your career where a programming language doesn't hold any value. A programming language holds a value, but that's not the most important thing. Like, it's just a tool. Like, okay, you know how to write a for loop in like 20 different languages. Okay, that's a bit impressive, but still in the real world, like, it doesn't really mean anything. The thing that's really valuable is how you can come up with solutions to problems. And programming languages at that stage just become a tool. Like, okay, like you don't specialize in like one given framework or one programming language. You have a general understanding of computational thinking. So if you're presented with any problem, you can solve it, come up with a solution, and then it's just a matter of implementing it with whatever programming languages you're using. Now, I understand like what I'm saying is like super broad, super general. It also depends upon, like, say if you're working in a specific team, what framework you work in, what language. But that aside, I'm just speaking to like a general audience. Like, at the end of the day, your ability of coming up with solution is what's valuable, not your programming, like not the actual language that you know. So don't waste a lot of time looking at different programming languages. Just start with any language. My suggestion, JavaScript or Python. Just start with that. Second mistake that a lot of developers make, and this is something that I've made as well, it is not following a lot of good coding or good code hygiene practices, I guess you can put it that way. So like not writing like good function name, good variables name, like just being in the habit of that like really goes a long way. So one thing that you must do is you need to be able to write good code, good readable code that anyone can read. Like, think about, like, say you're writing a piece of code and like just a lot of people will review it. Like, how would you structure that? Like, how would you structure that differently versus if you're the person reading it? Like, I'll give an example. For example, like if you go back like 5-6 years ago, some of the projects that I've created, if I look at the code base now, like I'll need a day or two just to understand what's going on. Like, I need some time to figure out like what I did, why I did this. So it's a bit like you need to get in the habit of doing that. It's good to do that, and this is something that I learned as well along my journey, is just get in the habit of writing good code, readable code. That goes a long way. So make sure you do that as well. That's a common mistake a lot of junior developers make. The third mistake that a lot of developers make is focusing on the code. Now, as a developer, okay, it's good. You need to focus on the code. You need to know how to write code, but that's not the most important thing. So as a software engineer, as I mentioned before, like a language coding, that's only like one aspect of your job, of what you do as a software engineer. The main valuable thing is like you think about all the other aspects that come together to make an application work. So that's stuff like scalability, configurability, accessibility, like stuff like that. So thinking about how you can scale like any solution, for example, you come up with for a given problem. So stuff like that is at the core of software engineering practices. So what a lot of young people, or a lot of like people young in their careers do, and something that I do as well, I did, trying to get better at it. So this is something a lot of junior developers get wrong, is like they focus solely on the code. Now, you need to be able to absorb information quickly. Like, think about other stuff. Think about your the long-term consequences of your solution. Like, think about scalability. Like, how would this affect how your solution would affect like other components in an application. So just the overall thing that all come together to like make a piece of software alive, presentable, or be in production. So you need to think about all those things as you embark on this journey of software development. And I guess another thing I can put in there, another common mistake that a lot of people make, something that which I made as well, is thinking that you know it all. Like, ask questions. Like, don't think, okay, like I'll figure it out on my own. It is a good quality to have, but especially if you're working a job, like that's just ask questions. Like, don't Don't wait, like don't put a lot of weight on yourself, like okay, I'll figure this out, I'll do this on my own. You tend to save a lot of time and you learn so much by just like asking. And you don't need to have that impression that other people are gonna think like, oh, maybe he doesn't know how to do this stuff, like he doesn't know all this. Like don't think about that. Like for example, I can speak from my experiences. Like some of the senior engineers in the team that I work in, like they ask the most obvious questions, like some question that I wouldn't even ask, like in meetings. But the reason that they do this is to make sure there's like crystal clear communication. There's no miscommunication happening. Everyone's on the same page. And this is something you as a junior engineer need to get in the habit of as well. And this is something that I'm trying to get in the habit of as well. Ask as many questions as possible. Like don't think there's a dumb question. Like if you ask a question, learn quickly from it. Don't ask the same question again and again. Like that's a different thing. But ask as many questions as possible. I mean, what's the worst going to happen? Someone might not respond to your message. Like someone might not talk to you. Like, okay, like you're responsible for your own growth. Like no one's going to like take your hand and walk you through like all the ladders of growth. Like you're responsible for your own self. So don't annoy. I mean, in a sense, I'm telling you, annoy people, but in a sense, I'm like saying like, don't feel bad about it. Like everyone does this. Like everyone asks each other questions. So don't feel bad about that. So make sure you ask as many questions as possible. Try to be a sponge in your early career, something which I'm trying to be as well. Try to learn as much as possible. Don't focus on a programming language. Focus on the general aspects of software engineering, coming up with a solution, thinking about architecture as a whole, scalability, and so on. And make sure to keep these points in mind. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this video. And these were some of my things that I feel a lot of developers get wrong, and some of the things that I've gotten wrong and I'm trying to get better at it. Let me know in the comments below as well. So maybe you can share if you've had some learnings in your software engineering journey as well. Maybe you can share that below. And let me know in the comments as well what videos you'd like me to make. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe.